All right, and welcome to a Thursday night edition, Dave. Thursday night football, prep style with our East County winner tonight. We got that win. I'm going to ask about last week's game, but I want to know about tonight's game, Dave. Monta Vista with the home victory tonight over Castle Park. Hey, we picked 34-16 Monta Vista in our preview. It was 35-19, Dave. Monarchs really controlled the action against Castle Park. The Trojans had a nice job. They did a nice job coming in here on the road. We knew the Monarchs were. This was one we had to have. We knew last week's game was going to be tough. Maybe it was going to be 50-50 game in my eyes, but we got it this week, Dave, with our Monarchs tonight. Yes.
Sir.
And the leader of the pack. I mean, you can talk. We want to, like he mentioned, Ramon mentioned that we want to talk about last week. Even though it was a loss, you were definitely a standout, and I think you should have been recognized for that game as well. But first, let's talk about this one. I mean, you go out there and let's just call you a touchdown machine. Who you going to give credit to? Also, I know you're going to call out your line. Was any tight end action in there too? Because I saw one guy that's on the screen right now that sealed off a perfect little hole for you going down the sideline.
Yeah, Kasim, the tight ends, they did great, honestly. And there's one old lineman that showed out today. Honestly, I gotta just say his name, John Pierre. Oh my, he did so good. JP, I'm proud of him.
I want to say it right. Kasim can help me, but we got to shout him out. JP Ibakwa.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Alex. We're going to talk about them all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. JP, I was telling him every play, like, keep going hard. You're doing hella good for me. And, Robert did so good too. Adrian, of course, I mean, he's been studying his plays. He's been doing hella good too. And I can't forget Emilio, man. Emilio and my center. Shout out to the center too. The center did hella good this game. I'm proud of him. Ace Garcia.
Well, you taught him well, guys. Alex got all his big dudes up in there, and it was the 62-yarder, Kasim. We noted it. I told Dave, I said, we were trying to scramble for you guys. I said, Kasim's our man. He had a big part. Maybe it's not going to be in the stats, but Dave, watch this 62-yard run by Alex. It gave him a 14-7 lead, and Kasim, you ran your guy right up against some of your teammates, just a big blob over there. And Alex came sliding through.
Absolutely. When Alex finds a hole, he's going to get to that hole. He has the speed for it. And all we got to do is just make the blocks, and he's going to get to that hole. Kick returns, punt returns, any type of return. Even if when he's getting the ball, he's looking to get into the end zone. And that's the quality I love about this guy, because he's going to play hard 100% through the entire game. He has high motor 100% every single time. Every single time he touches the ball, he's thinking about the end zone. He's worried about how am I going to get in the end zone. But all we have to do is just make the blocks for him. And I'm proud of Alex Villanueva for that. And I'm proud of my entire team for getting the win tonight.
Dave, you mentioned it, and I guess, look, it was a tough game, and we had that lead late last week. Comets kept coming back. But I don't think, Dave, Alex was recognized appropriately for his monster game, over 250 yards and the 4 touchdowns last week, but it was well rewarded tonight, Dave, with another game. Alex, he said he had 200 and 300. He's probably throwing in those kickoffs too, long kickoffs, including that 65-yard run that set up his own 9-yard run, Dave, that made it 28-3. So all is forgiven tonight, or all is forgotten, because the Monarchs rolled and Alex rolled, Dave.
Yeah, the kickoff returns. I mean, with that being said, what would you guys prefer? We got to see it for the first time on live television, the first time the NFL did it in a regular season game. Do you think that would work at the high school level, the way they're changing the kickoffs in the NFL?
I'm not really sure how to answer a question like that, Dave. To be honest, I don't really see how it would help per se, but it's the NFL, so it is what it is. Can't change it. Well, you can, but I'm not really concerned about different rule changes in the NFL, and like I'm just not sure, Dave. I don't think it would. I don't know.
Just throwing it out there. But again, all the great blocking that you did, I'm sure Alex can talk you up on that. And we also need to. We finally got Andrew in here, and do we have volume?
I'm right here.
Okay. So, and you're another piece to this puzzle that you almost came right to the score that we actually talked about ahead of time last week when we went over who was going to win, who was going to lose. But we also realized that this was one of those games that you really did need to win as far as a non-league game. And I'm sure Coach had talked to you during practice, and I'm sure you guys knew he's never going to say, oh, we're just going to walk all over him. But is there anything specifically, Andrew, that he talked about that we're maybe going to expose, weakness that we found where the defense would be able to get in there and control the game?
Well, the weakness was actually on us because teams know that we run the ball, so they just blitz every time. But we found a way around it, and we proceeded to get the win and just find a way around how to just run the ball with all the 6-2 nonsense that they had on the field. Castle Park did. But other than that, I think that we did find some weaknesses find some holes in their defense too that we looked upon, studied, and looked at the scouting report and just practiced it in practice, and we executed that tonight. And that was pretty much it.
And Andrew, it also looked like that you guys were wearing down the offense towards the end of that fourth quarter. If you were somebody watching the game, you could see, I mean, just some of those throws that came out of the quarterback's hands were kind of just floating ducks, and that they were just gassed. And the offensive line was tired. I think they were over it probably with 5-6 minutes left in the fourth.
Yeah, I think the same thing too, Dave. Well, their quarterback actually got injured in the first half, I believe, and then they had to throw in just like a running back in there, and they were just running the ball the rest of the game. So, and they were throwing duck balls, and then we did get something out of them throwing the duck balls almost every play. Giovanni Lopez with the interception at the fourth quarter. So, yeah, pretty much.
But yeah, I remember the one. I know the one you're thinking of, Kasim, when the guy, he ran back and really just threw it up, and their guy caught it in double coverage. I don't want to put on one of their plays. That was one of their successful plays. Also, they had a nice interception. I want to shout out that player that made that interception in the end. Not against you, Derek, because I did want to ask you though about running the offense here. You mentioned injuries, and our quarterback was knocked from this game. When their quarterback was down, it did delay the game there for quite a bit. But we also we'll find out more. But Derek, you were able to come in there, and hey, Kasim was saying we don't throw the ball. We actually threw for 115 yards last week, guys, and that's really unusual for the Monarchs. Derek, what pressures were you feeling under when you had to come in for Day? And he scored the touchdown that tied the game early, but you don't ever expect as a backup you're going to be needed. And tell me what was going on there.
Yeah, well, I knew what I had to do. So as soon as I go in, I had no pressure. I had no pressure on me. My line did great, and first drive in, I throw a touchdown pass. So yeah, that was pretty much it.
That pretty much relieved the pressure right away, and then I'm sure. You're getting plenty of snaps also in practice. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Just in case for this exact situation.
Yeah.
How how many passes do you throw in practice? So you're the Monarchs. I mean, I guess it's easier to work on your passing because we do such a good job of getting the ball to guys like Alex.
Yeah, in practice, we start passing like the ball a lot more now. Like we practice passing the ball all the time now. Right before practice, we always have our wide receivers line up and we just throw routes the whole time.
So, Alex, when you get so much usage like that, you mentioned, I said, the 250 last week, the big 4 touchdowns. I know it was heartbreaking to lose that game against the Comets, but tonight to come back, how much pressure you guys put on yourselves coming into this game 0-2 in a game that I think you guys knew that you were expected to win?
Honestly, I didn't think we had that much pressure on us. We just played out with confidence. Like we all had that mentality of we're gonna win this game, And yeah, I mean it worked out at the end.
Andrew, I don't know if he can hear me. If not, then I'll go over to Kasim again. Did the extra point, I believe it was towards the end of the second, was that one blocked? Was it actually tipped, or did he just shank it?
Yeah, I think it was blocked, actually.
We blocked it?
Yeah.
I thought somebody got a hand. Did you know who got a hand in there? I was trying to figure it out.
I think it was our safety, Lakai Dean. I think he got the block, and he got another block after the first half on a punt, but they called it back because they didn't blow the whistle apparently. But yeah, great play.
Hey, Alex, on that last touchdown, man, you got slung around like a slingshot. Like, what do they call, put you through the washer there? Grabbed your jersey and gave you a little extra momentum.
Yeah. I just used that to my advantage. I saw the cutback, so I cut back, and then I saw 2 of my blockers. I think it was my quarterback and running back. I think I seen them went to go block, and then I just ran it in.
Yeah, threw you out there into the open is what it looked like to me. And all of a sudden you had nothing but daylight. And Dave, we also talked to earlier this season, Mohab Akde, and he had a touchdown run, I believe, as well in the game, the 14 yarder there that made it 21-7. He did score a touchdown, I believe here. You saw it better than I did, Dave, but we were in command there, 21-7 lead at halftime. They did get that early touchdown in the third quarter that made it 21-13, but right after that, it was another bust by Alex, the 65-yarder, the kick return down the sideline there, Alex, to kind of set things up for another one, and you got rewarded with that other touchdown. Tell me about these other scores, the 9-yard run, Alex. Do you remember what happened?
On the 9-yard run?
Yeah, I think so. Was you right? You had the 65-yard return,
yeah,
and then the fourth touchdown made it 28-13. Maybe it wasn't 9 yards, but you got it right. You must have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You remember that one?
Mm-hmm. I remember that one. Honestly, my thought process through that one was, so we started third quarter, right? Our defense stopped them. It was good, right? And we started offense right after once we stopped them, and and I fumbled the first play on offense. That's on me. And I just got out and I had that mentality like, I put that defense in a situation and I had to come back from that. So then after we got a kickoff, we had some great blocks in the kickoff return. And then I ran up the field for 65 yards. I thought I had a TD, but I was.
Hey, Lakai Dean joins us, Dave, and maybe I could tease Lakai in the defense a little bit. I was talking to Kasim about that play. Remember the Castle Park quarterback? He threw like this pass off of his back foot. We had 2 of our guys there, and they got down to the 5-yard line. But last play, the first half, remember they bobbled the snap, and they were all upset. They couldn't get the play off. Do you remember that sequence, Lakai?
It was a pretty shaky experience in that sequence, but our defense is pretty strong, so we were able to calm down and go hard and get a stop. So we go hard in practice to make the game look easy. So we just go hard and talk to each other, so it's way more easier.
And Kasim, what happened? Was it just some miscommunication or something? Because I saw towards the end. Luckily, we got the interception, but it almost looked like a collision. like he was trying to hand the ball off, but then it turned into a collision, then turned into a fumble, and then unfortunately Castle Park took possession of the ball. I mean, they had a long field to go, but next thing you know, of course, Gio, like two plays later, has the pick. But what happened there? Just miscommunication. I mean, it looked like somebody could have gotten hurt. Luckily, they didn't.
Well, that has been happening the past couple weeks with the turnovers and just us fumbling and getting our steps incorrectly. But I think it probably was like a little like miscommunication in the steps and the timing of like handing of the ball. But we can that's something that can easily be fixed. Not like it can't be fixed, but yeah, they I think we did fumble at the end, and then Giovanni Lopez just came in with the pick to put the nail in the coffin to end the game.
Yeah, it was nice that. I mean, you guys were already up. You pretty much knew that you had sealed the deal, so you already had the momentum. But still, I'm sure a little fear of them having a quick touchdown after getting the ball where they had it. But again, your defense, and it didn't just show up at the end of the game. It was pretty much throughout the whole game. I saw, I don't know how many runs that were held to like 2-3 yards here and there, or maybe even a couple of losses. And then we even had pretty big sack by Moab that I saw.
Moab? Oh, yeah. That was all. Dave, go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt you. I saw that, and I was wondering who that was. He was.
Yeah, it was Moab. I looked back and just to make sure, and I don't know if you guys remember that one. I want to say it was in the third, maybe the start of the fourth, but I mean, he almost looked like he was unblocked and just he just pummeled that quarterback, rung his bell a bit.
Nice. Anybody recall that Mohawk sack?
Yeah.
It was in the first half, or
No, it was late. It was late in the, I think, fourth quarter. No.
Yeah,
it was late. Yeah.
But it was still, I mean, you guys just not only scoring, but your defense was making big plays, and so that was another one that stood out to me. I mean, it looked like no one even tried to block him. I mean, he went right in there and pretty much steamrolled that quarterback. And I mean, I don't want to say that they were even the score may tell a different story, but I don't think that you played a horrible football team either. I think that you actually played a very good football team. You just played better. Wouldn't you say the same? That they came out there and that quarterback had a couple of beauties that he threw, and
He was throwing off his
number 11 for those guys, he seemed pretty quick, and
he had that crazy run, you guys. He was Lakai, he was running around 34 yards. It looked like that guy ran 55 yards. You remember that?
Yeah, he was pretty quick, but me running with my team and them pushing me to go hard, I knew I could get there and get the stop and get him out. So it was pretty easy.
Yeah, and then that actually got the game. Remember, they had that, and then the TD run that made it 28-19. But we stopped the conversion on that one, so that was 28-19 there before Alex went off for another that 32-yard run. Remember, in the fourth quarter before he scored that 25-yarder that he got spun around. Derek, I know you're. Buddy, we're hoping that he is okay. We're not talking about too much, but Dan Bean's been really good for this team. Like I said, Monarchs don't have a 100-yard passer like they did last week, and I know last week's game was tough. But now your mind might be racing a little bit here. You played the first half in that first game, but if you have the assignment this week, right? You said you're ready and all, and maybe you can lead it into this. We play a team called Coastal Academy that really hasn't played 11-man football. They are 2-0 coming into this game. However, I think the Monarchs we got them at home. I think we're supposed to beat these guys pretty handily there. But you're ready for, I guess, when you go, I'm sure you can do something tomorrow, but heading into next week, you got to be thinking maybe got some reps coming.
Oh yeah, for sure. I just gotta stay ready because I might be playing both ways. So, what's it called?
Hey,
I
that's
just know that.
unusual for a Monarch quarterback. We've done that before.
No, yeah, I've heard about that. But yeah, I just gotta stay ready and focused because now I might have to play both sides now.
And
Nice.
it,
Yep.
and really, I mean, I think that Derek, you have the defensive side obviously locked in, and you're pretty much locked in already after just a couple of snaps today. And that's what I can admire is that you have that confidence already. And I'm sure your teammates that are here right now and your other teammates that were on the field today, I'm sure that they felt the confidence when you took over behind center. I'm sure I'm right, and it's unanimous, guys, that he's gonna lead you to some wins now.
I believe so. I have a lot of faith in Derek. I've played with Derek in youth growing up, and he's always been a hustle player. He's always been the skill guy you need on the defensive side or offensive side of the ball. He can play both ways. He's done it before. I just have faith in. I have not even just faith in Derek. I have faith in my entire team. We have what it takes to go really far in this season and seasons coming on and the next guys that come up to Mata Vista. And that's just the way of Mata Vista, and that's how we do it here.
Yeah. Hey, Lakai, last week, I know I keep harping on this a little bit. We got our win this week. I just want to know what you guys felt after that. That was probably the game I watched the most of out of all the games on Friday night. And I really felt for you guys, especially getting the lead late. You guys kept leading the game all the way, and it almost felt like there was just not enough time on the clock. Like we could have got that last score back. But I know you guys probably felt pretty bad a little bit on the defensive end. But how did the team feel, and how did that motivate you for this one?
Honestly, we all look back on it, and Kearney really didn't beat us. We beat ourselves. And we let up, so we all had a conversation and got together and talked about wanting to be a winning team, wanting to make Monta Vista again. Like, we all talked and sat down, went through plays. We even got together and avoided our lunches just to study our plays and get it down. So going into this game, we felt really good and confident, and we knew not to let up again or beat ourselves. So it was just a get it there and get it done moment, and we won. We took the victory.
Alex, I could talk you up big time about how awesome you were. It doesn't make you feel any better when you walked off the field, I bet.
Yeah.
But go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, I was going to say, Alex, this one had to be a complete turnaround. I mean, you were scoring in that game too, but I'm sure, and this one, especially with, and I can appreciate that, is you added some minor antics, nothing to get flagged for, but showing the ball.
Dave? Call him. What'd he do? I missed it.
He wasn't doing anything crazy, but he was basically just letting the fans know, and whether it be the visitors or his own fans, that he's the one, and he's the one that just scored. I mean, wouldn't you say the same? Especially after that Kearney game, and then being able to, that's right, I'm doing it, and I'm doing it for my team and for my fans. And it was classy. It wasn't anything crazy or anything penalty. Not at all.
Yeah, honestly, I love showing out for my family. They're always there supporting me. So, like, every time I get the opportunity to show them that I really, care for them being there, I just want to show it to them,
You know what else I saw after the game? I saw Alex. Now that it makes perfect sense, I'm going to take a guess. We could see him on the camera. I don't know if you guys go back and watch it tonight. the game you should, because it makes it a little different. I don't know if you guys know, Dave and I like watching the games on the cam, but tonight's game had professional announcers calling the action. So you might go back and check it out. They, talking about just the play-by-play and everything, but it makes it pretty enjoyable to go back and hear what the announcers are saying about you guys. So, but Alex, at the end of the game, I figure you must have been, now I saw you on camera, you must have been signaling something to your family hearts or something, or maybe like this. Watch you guys. I think, was it going to do it? I thought I had there we go. Alex, were you sending a salute to your family after the game? Another big monster performance? Or there's somebody up there I saw you waving to.
Yeah, I was looking at them. Yeah, my family called me out. They were saying to wave at the cameras, but
no wonder I saw it, Dave. All right, hey Dave, let's unless you got anything else, let's put these guys to bed. Put this win to bed. Like I said, next week. I don't know. I'm not even going to quiz them on it too much, because this is a program. Unless, Kasim, you're our man on that. We're playing an inexperienced program, but they do have a couple of wins. They still are yet to play this week. I will say, Dave, for everyone who doesn't know we don't really know that much about them either, but they are in the same league as teams like with that the Monte Vista program has faced before, like Maranatha Christian, Maranatha. Tri-City, those type of teams, Dave. Even Mountain Empire is in their league this year, O'Farrell and Rock Academy. So I don't think these guys, if they're 2-0, they must have a little something going. So I think don't coach you up like Dave. Don't oversleep on these guys here. Don't sleep on these guys a little bit, even though we'll see what they have to offer.
I'll say the same thing. Ramon's correct. Don't sleep on them, but we'll be giving our picks after we get you off the air tonight. But I don't think that as long as you play 100% or 150% like you played tonight, I don't think there's a chance that you're going to lose to those teams. And of course, we can't ever play mistake free, but you don't turn the ball over, especially 9 times out of 10, you're going to win that ball game.
Absolutely. I totally agree with Ramon and with Dave. It's just a mental thing. We all have to be all in and wanting to change this program forever and the greater good of the entire team. And it's within us. It's within us to want to change and flip the whole script on everyone that wanted to count us out from the beginning of the season and years on and before, and all just the naysayers at other schools. And we're not worried about any of that. We're just worrying about winning football games and just going forward. We're worried about the positive side of this entire football season. We're worried about seasons on and coming seasons in the future for the younger generation, and I'm just ready. I think we're all ready. So we're gonna stay mellow headed. We're not gonna get too big headed about this win. So we're just going to keep preparing for the next teams that we have to play, Coastal Academy being next, and we're going to prepare. We're going to be ready. I promise.
Kasim, have you been talking to AD Anthony Davis? Did you have a phone call with him or something? Because that's pretty much that's pretty much what he says all the time. But you know what he does, and if I was a coach, I would suggest doing sometimes is he says straight up. During basketball season, I'm not even listening or looking at social media. There's a certain time to look at it, a certain time not to, and I think that's served him well. I'm not saying don't look at anything positive, but that's why I thought after what you just said right now, it sounds like something that AD would say.
You're about AD the Laker, Dave?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
The one and the only.
Like, is that a teammate? Or?
No, well, we're like this, No. So, yeah, I think you guys, if you play with all the intensity that you played with this evening on both sides of the ball, and it is correct, don't listen to any of the noise, and you just play Monte Vista football, I think you guys will find yourself possibly on top, winning the rest of your non-league games and then going into league with some huge momentum. And I think a lot of times people look at Monte Vista as, well, they don't have as many players typically, and Mount McGill was a similar thing as they have, and so have the Elkhorn Valley Braves. But I've seen a lot of great teams come out of Monte Vista that had less players than you guys have now, not to mention Elkhorn Valley and Mount McGill. So if anybody can do it, you guys keep up the attitude on and off the field. I think that you guys shouldn't have a problem. And whatever you do, try to stay as healthy as possible, because injuries they can stack up, and we don't want any of that.
Yeah, let's say feel better to Dayon, and good Derek. We need Derek, no doubt, but let's say feel better, Dayon, after that as well. And thank you guys. I'll just make it clear, Dave. They play that team next week, as I mentioned, Coastal Academy, and then it's the Grossmont Foothillers as that non-league game. You're going to have two different styles in that one, but I'll say it again. We said it with these guys, and I'm not going to, pump it up as like I want to, but they host the two biggest league games at home this year as far as West Hills and Santana. Those are the home games. The road games are at Valhalla and Elkhorn Valley. You put 2 and 2, 4 and 4 together. The Monarchs are live in the Grossmont Valley League. Okay, thanks a lot, guys. Also want to shout out, of course, Alex Villanueva. He is our most valuable player, but I spoke to him and he said, no, Ramon, it's really Robert Vasquez, Emilio Suarez, JP Abakwa, Adrian Perez. I probably forgot one or two, Alex, but those guys I want to say also to Kasim when he rounds them up. Those guys did try to come in. We just weren't kind of getting the connection. I'm sure, Alex, we'll have another game where we're talking big yardage and promote your linemen here in the weeks to come. So especially on those league games, we're going to be watching those closely, Dave. Derek Taylor, quarterback right now and defensive back of the Monte Vista Monarchs. So we're going to need Derek. Kasim Conley, of course, not only the great pass blocking tight end, but our official East County Sports Monte Vista football correspondent, Lakai Dean. Also, thanks, guys. Good night. Have a great day tomorrow. Hey, hopefully get a little bit of a rest tomorrow and go watch a football game and back to it next week. Thanks, guys, and thanks, Dave.
Thanks, guys, and we'll see you next time after your next win. And for Ramon Scott, I'm Dave Dickens. Have a pleasant night.
Thanks, Dave. We're going to send these guys out of here. We're going to keep it right here, actually. Thanks, guys. Great job. And Robert, we're going to get me Robert Kasim next time. He was trying to log on and just didn't quite work out. Thanks, Monarchs. Good job.
Thank you, guys.
All right, Dave, we're going to be rolling here now with the thanks, guys. Awesome. Dave, we're going to be rolling here with the previews coming up here from the rest of our, unless you want to wrap up the game. Great job with the Monarchs, man. They were, you could tell how dialed in they were just by their answers tonight with the game. You have anything else in the matchup here? I hope we covered everything. You were giving me the scoring plays there a little bit, and I hope I got them right. Do you need me to? I think we got it. Dayan had the 4-yard TD run that tied the game at 7-all. Alex had that 62-yard run, maybe 65 there behind the blocking of Kasim that gave the Monarchs a 14-7 lead. And then I had Mohab with a 14-yard run that made it 21-7. Castle Park was left jumping up and down. They couldn't get that playoff. You probably saw that, Dave. They were upset they couldn't get a playoff in the red zone late. That's because the Monarchs did a good job there. And also ended up a 9-yard run for Villanueva after he had a 65-yard kickoff return. They had actually scored the opening touchdown of the third quarter to make it 21-13. His 9-yard run made it 28-13. Castle Park came right back. You mentioned 34. He's the one, number 11 you mentioned. He's the one that 34-yard run that set up the touchdown run by number 20. I'm not doing Castle Park any I'm not doing them well. I'm going to be better in making sure I have the opponent's score as we were kind of hustling here late. And then Alex had the 32-yard run and then the 25-yard touchdown where he got spun around like a slingshot in there. Dave, also want to mention Dago Sanchez had a fumble recovery in the game.
And Moab also had a huge sack later in the game in the fourth quarter. Definitely a perfect hole for him to go in there. And then I also wanted to note that there was 2 extra points that were blocked by Monarchs on. So hats off to the special teams unit as well.
I think the second was a conversion. I think they went for a run, though. I think they were trying to get 2. But they fully stopped the conversion, right?
Yeah, I could be wrong. I thought Kasim said that they blocked 2, but I definitely saw them get a finger in there on one, and that was in the second quarter. But, for a while, it looked like it was going to go back and forth as it progressed. But I think Monte Vista was just geared up and ready to go. And again, we wish Bean all the best for him to go down. We don't know the status yet as of right now. And there was a lot of cramping too because of the heat and such. So we don't know, but damn, Bean, we're hoping you'll be back on the field, but we know Derek's going to take over for as long as he needs to and lead those Monarchs possibly into another playoff. So thanks for the Monarchs coming on, though. That always appreciate our correspondent we named after the first show. Kasim is full of energy and full of knowledge and really paying attention when he's on that football field.
Yeah, he's our guy for sure. So thank you to the Monarchs. And like I said, I don't even know much about this. We know, I mean, they're familiar to school to me, but this is our first year playing 11-man football in a while. So maybe I'll cover that in an article here before the games start. We're going to cover the previews right now and make some predictions, Dave. Get ready. We're going to head out to Saturday at the Honor Bowl with the Granite Hills Eagles taking on Perry here. The Perry Pumas from Gilbert, Arizona are going to come to town, Dave. It's going to be, tough game for the Eagles, certainly, when you got an out of section invader coming in and brought in, they're going to be a pretty good opponent because this is a, kind of a featured game, the Honor Bowl up at Cathedral Catholic High, where they, meet military members and families, and maybe those have not been so fortunate in their heroics defending our country. So it's really a moving experience for the players to play in the Honor Bowl. A lot of times it's been Helix in the past. Granite Hills gets a chance here against the number 21 ranked team from Arizona in the Perry Pumas here. They did win their opening game 40-7 against Desert Ridge. This is a pretty strong program out of Arizona.
Well, and I was just thinking, and there was another one. It usually was Helix, but I want to say it was 2018 maybe that Christian played somebody in the Honor Bowl. And the only reason I remember is because Brad Jeremiah was rocking and firing. I don't know how many touchdown passes he threw, but wasn't it 18 or 19?
Man, that's you know what, I do remember them taking them on. Now that you mention it, wow, that was yeah, I do remember that. All right, Dave, what do you think? You got to make a prediction here, or
yeah? And I want to make sure that the folks know too that it's going to be. Is it, Ramon? Is it 4 p.m. Pacific that they're going to?
Dave, yeah, 4 p.m. on Saturday. Thank you for mentioning that, Dave. Arizona teams have come here to travel in this game before. They have a top quarterback in senior Diesel Taylor. He passed for 2,300 yards last year and 29 touchdowns. They have a good-looking wide receiver in Hayden Moon, 475 yards and 5 touchdowns last year. And look out for senior linebackers Jackson Sands and Nate Loritzen on the defensive side for Puma, Dave. One notable player that played for the Perry Pumas is Brock Purdy.
Wow. And not that it matters, but
No, that's the type of program we're dealing with. But, for the Eagles here, Dave, obviously they're coming in right now, number one in the county with Zach Benitez and Max Turner running the show here this year. Parker Vance certainly fulfilling the tradition of Granite Hills defensive players. So I'm going to take the Eagles in this one, Dave. I'm going to think Granite Hills wins this one, probably somewhere I'm going to say 42-21, 42-28. Maybe 35, 21, 35, 21, 42, 21, 30. Can I pick a bunch of right in there somewhere? Eagles by 2 or 3 touchdowns.
I'm going to say I think I lost every game because I picked such a low amount of offense. So due to that fact, and being that it is Granite, and I think that they are still going to prove to all of San Diego County and maybe even further into Orange County that they still are the team to beat. They do have the target on their back. Let's not forget, even with the departure of Pablo, we'd love to have Pablo back over at Granite Hills. But let me tell you, there's not, Mr. Turner has just been, like, I think I said it to you last time. I was going to ask him, and I hope it's okay with you. Mr. Turner the Burner is what I'm looking at, because I've seen him burn through some serious defenses, whether he's going through the middle, whether he's sweeping to the left or right, and whether he's making a catch in double coverage. That is a serious, talented football player. Benitez has been fantastic as well. And you can't say enough about that defense. And, again, Coach Cobbs, when it comes to those defenses too, I don't think he's ever had a poorly ranked defense ever since he's been there. And he's always changing up the schemes, and I'm sure it's going to be something possibly we haven't seen on the offensive side too, with a team like this coming from out of town. I'm going to take my Eagles, and I'm going to take them 35-14.
All right, Max Turner, almost 400 yards rushing, 7 touchdowns so far this season. Benitez, almost 500 yards passing so far. Going to work on that touchdown interception ratio, but I like the Eagles in the Honor Bowl on Saturday. Can catch that one. That'll also be one of those you'll find with a broadcast on full broadcast on NFHS, I believe. All right, Dave, we're going to stick in the top 10 here with the Mount McGill. Wow, this is going to be fun. Woo! Get your popcorn ready. It's going to be, feels like a lot of offense here. Pressure will be on the Matador defense, and we want to see how they fare against some of these fine teams, Dave. La Jolla Country Day right now, certainly one of the top teams in the county. I've got them ranked at number 17 currently with the Tories here coming into this one. I almost want to note that because that's pretty good for them, and they have a pretty strong program. They might even be better. They might have a little bit of a, dare I say, small school bias here a little bit because they really are kind of prolific with their quarterback, Jack Levin, 5 touchdowns so far. Garrett Ace, a good running back, 425 yards, and Quentin Cesare, 14 receptions, 163 yards. But with the Matadors, Dave, you got A.J. Stowers, 400 yards passing. K.J. Shields was the man last week for the Matadors. A big game for Shields. He has 4 touchdowns this year, and A.J. Logan's been a top target for Mount Miguel. But we'll see. We want to talk about some of – they've had it kind of easy, it feels like, Dave, with the with the defense. So they're going to be tested here, and we want to shout some of those defensive players out, maybe with some big plays. La Jolla Country Day so far, Dave, has outscored Chula Vista and Crawford 61-12.
And of course, Crawford, the one team that they played in the Grossmont Conference was the recently actually was the Elkhorn Valley Braves, and it was unfortunate they really made a big win of it. But don't forget what Coach Verlaine said, and I quote: He doesn't think they're playing up to par as of yet, and for what he said last week, when league starts, that's when we'll start talking, and that's when we should start hearing from him and KJ and AJ, and I'm sure quite a few other Matadors. So we are looking forward to that, Coach. If you're listening, can't wait to hear from you. And anytime you do want to pop in, or any of the Matadors, we'd be more than happy to chat with you. And we know that you are an up-and-coming, improved, younger squad, but definitely one of those teams that can be very scary for anybody in the conference and outside of the conference.
I have them ranked 5th currently in the county. The polls have them higher than the computers at this point, and this one might even be rated kind of close here, Dave, with the Matadors on the road. I have a feeling La Jolla Country Day, this is going to be a wild one, Dave. I'm going to say Matadors win this one 45-43. That might be a little high, but that might have that's disrespecting the Matador deep. How about we go down 38-35, maybe Matadors? Try to take it easy on them, but I feel like we're just going to see a lot of points here.
I think that the Matadors are going to get out of there with the win. Even with all what they've done to the previous teams, I think this is going to be their toughest opponent they've had to play so far all the way around. And so I'm going to have to say Mount McGill will hang on and win 28-21.
All right, go Matadors against the Tories. That to me, I mean, that looks like the game to check out on Friday night. All right, Dave. We got two teams in the same boat here. Helix is still, hanging on here in the rankings. They're still going to be a pretty good team. They're going up against Saints, and they're kind of mirroring each other to a little bit. Both teams in a massive rebuild here, so one team's going to get healthy. Saints are at home coming into this one. You asked about Lee Norman Lester. What happened, Dave, was he was knocked from the game last week early on a play near the right sideline. He limped off. He limped slowly back to the sidelines, and the Helix had to bring in another quarterback into the game, Stevens, who ended up looking pretty good, had a couple of touchdowns. Helix kind of trailed in the game. In fact, they were down, but Stevens was 8 of 16 for 66 yards and a couple of scores in the game. Norman Lester was scrambling to the sideline to try to get a pass off. They were already under heavy pressure in the game. It looked like it was going to be a rough game, actually, but I think they might give him a better chance there to win if he was able to stay in. But a great job by Stevens, certainly in that game. And the Highlanders here, they got to get this passing game going here just a little bit, it feels like.
Well, we don't have a Chris Washington, and we don't have Jesse, but I hate to sound like a broken record, but just remember how we started off with those two. It was a rough ride, especially the first year together. And I think Jesse just got better. And, I mean, look at him now. And then Chris Washington, the same thing. I mean, scoring touchdowns left and right. So I think it's maybe it's a season of growing pains, and it's a young team. I still think, I'm sure coach is going to go with Stevens, but I think that we should probably still rotate the quarterbacks just to see what we really have, because with Lester you got the pair of legs, but he's a coach. He knows what's best, and um, like you said, we definitely got to get that running game going. Though we got to get that line to step up, and maybe even throw a tight end in there, and we need to find some holes. And even if we have to get them in chunks on the ground and wear down the defenses, I think that would probably be the next order of business. And then worry about the passing game as well. But I think we should really focus in on the run game, and I think that would be a good formula, personally, for Helix to get a W, especially in this game. And I think that they're capable, even being younger, of beating Saints. I have been picking Helix. I'm going to pick Helix again, and I'm going to say Helix is going to win this one 14-10.
Yeah, I'm going to go low here with you in this one. I'll call it a little bit higher. I'm going to go Helix wins this one 24-22 in a nail biter somehow, it feels like here. I'm going to take Helix for sure in this one, but I would think it might be kind of a toss-up here. All right. Come on, Highlanders. I will say this: the Saints have played two tough teams so far. La Costa Canyon, top 10 team here right now, and also right now La Costa Canyon 9th, and they also played another top team, Poway, who's ranked 23rd at 1-1. All right, next up.
With that being said, if you have it handy, I didn't know if you did. When's the last time Helix started off at 0-3?
We're going to move on to the next game, Dave. You don't talk like that around here. Morse is going to take on Steel Canyon. Both teams come in 1-1. Cougars last week. Tough game, certainly, but this is going to be a good one here, it feels like right now. You got to think Steel, Dave, is going to be the team with the upper hand here. Maybe just a little bit of a class difference. It was what it feels like. Morris comes in here right now with a record of 1-1, and the Cougars are also 1-1.
Well, yes, and we need to look at the teams that they did beat to get their win. And you remember Steele had a very impressive first win, and really the game that they lost, they played a very good Madison team, and they fought through it. I think the trouble last week was the turnover. They were losing the turnover battle, and anytime you lose that, of course, that's going to be hard to win those ball games. But they limit the turnovers. I think they have a very good chance, and they have the players to do it. Was it Kaha? Is that the...
I mean, look, this Steel Canyon team, in my opinion, Dave, is still overrated. Look at this for Gavin Kaha last week. His numbers were off the charts. I'm not sure he got the recognition that he deserved for his performance last week, because it was a losing effort. But he went 19 for 21 passing with a couple of touchdowns, no interceptions. That's a 157 quarterback rating. So a real strong day, and they still had 140 yards rushing. For the Cougars, the offense was just fine, and the receiving was off the charts. It was a real good offensive day for the Cougars, and they had 6 different pass catchers in the game, including Austin Haish, who had a long one, Dave, in the game, and also a touchdown reception from Noah Diarcos, the junior. So real strong game offensively, but they were just in a game against Madison, and basically Ryan Jackson was pretty good. The receiver had 3 touchdowns, just 51 yards, but he can really jump. He has a real advantage when he jumps up against most defenders.
Well, and Madison is always, I think that I can't remember the last time I heard of a bad Madison team. They're usually well coached. They usually have some big players. They have, for the linemen up front, they usually have some speedsters and usually have a good arm uh, tossing passes to their receiving core. On the other hand, we talked about what Steele has. They just need to win the turnover battle. Well, Morse. It depends on which Morse shows up. They're usually a pretty speedy team themselves, but I think again they have to be probably near perfect, and I think they need to score first and they need to score often in order to beat Steel Canyon. I think that is the only way. And Steel Canyon is playing at home, and they always have a big draw at home. So on this one, I'm going to say Steel Canyon, but I'm also going to say Steel Canyon by, I'm going to have to say 35-24.
Yeah, I got Steel Canyon win this one probably the same. Maybe Morris will get that hot. I'll right there with you, Dave. 35-38. Maybe they can get 6 touchdowns. Well, they've got to slow down is Superior Garor, the great running back of Morris. He has a couple hundred yards so far this season. So Steel, they have versatility offensively, it looks like right now. And Kaha, he is the most underrated quarterback in the East County right now, I would think. That was a real standout performance here in last week's game, despite the loss to Madison.
And just to put it out there real quick, before we put it out there real quick, I just wanted to say, and if anybody gets any Steel Canyon information, wants to send it to us while we're on our Friday night post game tomorrow night, we'd be more than happy to take it. Or anytime you want to even send it to our Facebook page or our Instagram, we're always happy to get anything from Steel Canyon that we can put up and make sure that your squad gets some recognition, especially Mr. Kaha behind center, because he's, like Ramon said, he's been underrated and under the radar. So, next, sir.
Yes, Dave. Look, Mount Miguel and La Jolla Country Day is a great game because they're highly ranked and 2 very good teams. This one feels like it's going to be a humdinger as well when Grossmont goes on the road to take on Mira Mesa. Get ready, defense. If Grossmont's defense plays like they did, Dave, they'll, that's what we need. What we saw last week from Grossmont's defense. We saw those great highlights last week, Dave, of the Foothillers in their win. Look great offensively and defensively against Mira Mesa. They can be effective defensively, but the matchup does point to it being a real good game. Like we're an underdog.
This game has history for myself and for Anthony Lawrence, and I'm sure a few other times that he played them as well. But it just sticks out in my mind that November game. I believe it was in 2011 of the triple overtime game against the Hillers. And the Hillers coming back. And I tell you, to this day, I think that was the best Hillers game I ever watched. And I got thrown to the dogs by my father throwing me out there I was a rookie, and he throws me out there to a triple overtime game with playoff input. I mean, that was just crazy. But even got to the quotes I can't read. Asking Coach Murphy back then, the things I was asking him were pretty bold. But at any rate, I would say the same thing. If Grossmont is slinging it around like they were last week, offensively, and Tommy got everybody into it. It was not only Parker, but it was also Arias. He definitely, I think he had one in there as well. And did we have it? We had some rushing touchdowns too.
For the Hillers, Dave?
Yes.
Yeah, no, it was a great job by the Hillers last week in that victory, piling up the numbers there against Olympian for sure. Last week, Dave, they were off to the races. They threw the ball well. Of course, we had the interview with Donovan specifically for another big passing performance. Tommy Donovan right now having a incredible season, 12 touchdown passes so far after just 2 weeks. He threw for 454 yards last week against the Eagles. Just a terrific performance. You noted the receivers with Vanderberg and Walker combining for 5 touchdowns, and Amari Riley with a score last week. So they did it in the air. They did it on the ground. The running game with Casey Campbell. Just still trying to make sure, because I know there's another Campbell on the team, and all the spellings have CAMBLL with no P. So I'm going to hopefully that is right. And he had 63 yards rushing in the game. They rushed for 143 yards. One guy maybe I didn't mention was Junior DeMar Smith. He might deserve a shout out, 61 yards in the win last week, Dave. But here against the Marauders are going to be expected to win. But I just think the Foothillers, this offense is so potent. They're going to be able to keep you in the game. It feels like, even if there is even if Mira Mesa is able to have a successful day offensively. I'm trying to sugarcoat it a little bit.
Well, I think that we also need to think about who did the 0-1 mark that Mira Mesa that they do have. They have to El Capitan. So El Capitan was able to overcome the Marauders. So to me, that tells me that Grossmont has the edge. They have the firepower in the air. They have the speed on the ground. And their defense clearly showed that they have the defense in line now where they're supposed to be. And I could even see some turnovers in this game. And, the Vaqueros beat them. And they looked good when they beat them on offense and a tremendous defense. So El Cap knocking them off the way they did, nothing to say against El Cap. Nothing negative at all. But they don't throw the ball quite as much. Brandt doesn't, but he does throw the ball very well. But with Tommy throwing it against that secondary that Brandt faced, I'm just going to have to say I'm sorry, Mira Mesa this year. I'm going to say Grossmont is probably going to give you it's going to be a long night for you, and I think it's going to end up being Grossmont Foothillers 35, maybe even 42-7.
Wow, that would be a smasher, Dave. I'm going to take the Marauders here just to, because I think it's going to be a tough game. I'll say Mira Mesa, high scoring game. I would figure I'm going to say Mira Mesa 45-43 or 44, 45, 44, 46, 44, something crazy like that. I just feel like this will be one of those, another Grossmont game. I hope it isn't. I hope that if Grossmont keeps Mira Mesa under 34 points, they will win this game. I don't know if that's I'm not making that up. I just feel like that's where the fine line is going to be and they can do it. They can score more than that. So defense doesn't need, when the problem sometimes, when the defense gets in those games, it becomes a battle of attrition a little bit of, who's going to outlast one another. So if you just pin your number there, you can get it, Grossmont. So let's do it. For Mira Mesa coming in that game against El Cap, they rushed for 131 yards and passed for, they had a balanced offense. I think that's what I'll call it for Mira Mesa. But again, you're right. El Capitan did get the win on that night. Now, Barker did throw 26 passes there, but that's kind of what they needed in that one. Benegas had the touchdown. But this is about the Hillers. I'll go heads up with Dave here, and hopefully I'm wrong and the Hillers can call me out for picking against them this week. But Mira Mesa's got a 0 on them, and Look, if that Grossmont defense from that game last week that we saw against Olympian on the road shows up, then that I do think Grossmont can do it. So let's go Hillers.
Yeah,
All right.
we'll need another. We'll need a a double package if it looks like that one did compared to last week. But on to the next, sir.
The El Capitan, you said it, so let's get in with the El Capitan Vaqueros here, Dave. A 1-1 record right now for El Cap, taking on Chula Vista. This is one that you better be focused, and I do expect El Cap to be, a little bit of a favorite here for sure against Chula Vista. You don't want to get bit by these guys right here. I would have to think the Vaqueros are going to be expected to win. They expect to win this game. I expect them to win this game, and they could have a pretty good day defensively, I think, against the Spartans.
Yeah, and I think the Vaqueros are one of those teams also, kind of like Monte Vista, that play better at home. Another stadium that fills the seats and you can hear the roar there. Great announcing there, and I mean they're definitely true fans out there in Lakeside. And Chula Vista is going to come into quite a bit of noise for sure. And I think if Barker has a good night and he has the protection up front that he got when they faced the Marauders, I think that's going to be the key. And mixing it up a little bit and getting the running game established early, wearing down that Chula Vista defense. And then I like to say that he gets rid of the ball pretty quickly as well. And if he has to tuck it and run, I think that's always something that they can go to as well. But I'm going to definitely say in this one, I'm going to take the El Capitan Vaqueros at home, and I am going to say it's going to be a closer one. I'm going to say it's going to be 21-17 Vaqueros.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I'll make it a little bit bigger gap, maybe 24-14 or so. I think El Cap should win this one. They should be able to. Chula Vista is going to run the ball for sure, Dave, in this one with their man, Ladarion Perkins. He had 170 yards last week and 2 touchdowns for Chula Vista in the win over Bonita Vista, 28-0. They were probably expected to win that game. They did lose to the powerful La Jolla Country Day team earlier in the season by, I think, 29 points in game 1. So also Chula Vista did wrap up a couple of three sacks last week and an interception. So just keep the turnovers down. That's always important for El Cap. I'm going to call it right there, Dave, with you. I'll say 27 to 14, 17, something like that in there. El Cap by a couple of touchdowns at home. Yeah.
And don't forget how well we saw that El Cap defense play against Mira Mesa too. If they play like that's going to be a W for sure.
All right, Dave, we'll keep it in the Grossmont Valley League now here with the Santana Sultans in a game that certainly I would think that they're going to be able to handle the Hilltop Lancers in this one at Santee Community Stadium. Both teams do come in 1-1. We've seen a little bit of Hilltop, I think, already, and Sultans try to get that second win.
Yeah, and I think even in that loss, as we spoke with the Sultans after that game, matter of fact, they got home pretty late, and they took time, all got in their vehicles, and they all got their individual phones. And
talk about the drive-through.
Yeah, and they definitely took the time to have a chat with us, but they didn't seem as upset as a team would that just got beat. But I don't really think that they really got beat by the score that what it said on the scoreboard. I think they played much better if you look at the footage of the Santana game at that time. And I think they had a good mix of run and pass. Still wondering about that when you had in question the trick play that we thought that maybe Josh had. I'm still on that. It's rumbling around in my head if it was or not. But we got some pretty good rushers on that team, and I think they got a young line, but I think it's pretty strong. So I think there's going to be a lot of ground game by the Sultans, and I think that Josh, they're gonna. I don't want to say they're gonna limit it, but I think they're gonna try and push the ball on the ground until they can't do it. So if it's not broken, don't fix it, and limit the passing. And the defense, we've already seen what they can do. The defense, I think, is probably the strongest point of the Sultans so far that I've seen this year. Don't know as much as you probably do, but as much about Hilltop. But I think that they are definitely comparable. And I think whoever steps out on that field and plays the better game and has a better game plan, it's just going to be the battle of who planned better and who played better and executed their game plan. And I'm going to take the Sultans from Santana, and I'm going to have the Sultans swing over Hilltop, and I'm going to say 25-17.
Yeah, me too, Dave. I'm right in there with you. I got to think 2 or 3 touchdowns. Maybe it'll be 31 points for Santana. Maybe Hilltop gets a couple of touchdowns. I'll call it 28-14, 31-14, 31-17. Just right in there. I think they can take care. Hilltop beat Coronado in the first game of the season. They lost to Temescal Canyon in an out-of-section game in week 2. So I kind of respect this schedule so far. Canico Vasquez has 451 yards passing. Mason Vaquero, we got to watch out with the Vaquero going against Santana. 5 receptions, 185 yards. Julian Mora has 7 catches for 144. But you mentioned it, Dave. Right now, it's the Sultan defense with these guys here right now, Dave, that are really, really carrying the Sultans here right now with these, good numbers here. Aiden Thornton, you got Wader, you got Bennett, Williams, all these guys right now. And also don't forget freshman Julian Mayers with a couple of sacks so far. I'll take the Sultans here, give them to me 31-17 or so. Santana wins. Okay, cross town now. Let's head over. Let's drive down Mass Boulevard, Dave, and head to West Hills and take on Vista here in this one, Dave. This is a big one for West Hills. And even though I think the game is going to be rated here very, very closely, when I see a 0 in the win column and a home game here against a team that even if they're equally ranked, I think this is time for West Hills and they're going to get this win.
Yeah, and that's interesting because watching Vista for so many years, I could probably say since
This ain't 1986 anymore, Dave.
no, I'm going to say since 1983, and I will tell you, Vista from the 80s and 90s were always fantastic, and they were always the big guys, and they had real big guys on defense. But times have definitely changed, and in this battle here, and looking at the roster of the of Vista, I'm going to definitely say West Hills is going to take this one, but they're also overdue. Some of these games, they were right there. I mean, just a couple of plays away from winning some of these games, and you watch the play of their quarterback. I mean, they have a quarterback every single year. I don't know how they do it, but they grow quarterbacks over there at West Hills that have an arm and that can run. I don't know what it is. It's something in the Smurf field that's spread out there or something, but they definitely grow quarterbacks. And Joey Hamilton is no exception. And he's definitely got the receivers and I think again, this game is a perfect example too. Let's punch him in the mouth with the ground game to start with, and then will open up some play action, and I think that would be the key to defeating Vista. And I think the bus ride, some people, I don't know what you think, but I think it's always the one that has the long bus ride that loses the edge to the home team, that gets to have there's extra time to get ready, the extra time on the sidelines, and they're getting out of the sweaty bus. And let's face it, this is not exactly the coolest place during the summertime or during September. But I'm going to definitely say that Coach Ash is probably crossed every T, dotted every I, and I think that he definitely has gone over this team with a fine-tooth comb, because if there's one thing I know about Coach Ash, he does not like to lose ball games, and especially if it's on turnovers, that's even worse. So I see in my crystal ball that West Hills, like you said, is going to turn that 0 into a 1 and end up being 1-2 by defeating Vista. And I'm going to say they're going to do it through the air and on the ground. And their defense is going to step up and maybe a pick or two, and that's going to be the difference. And I'm going to say West Hills Wolfpack, they're going to win 27-17.
Yeah, Dave, I'm going to take West Hills here to edge Vista. I'm going to think it'll be a low-scoring game somewhere maybe in the 17-14, 20-17, somewhere right in there. Maybe West Hills can get 3 touchdowns, and that would do it here, I would think, against these guys last week. You mentioned Hamilton. He had 127 yards of total yards, including 69 yards rushing on 12 attempts. Senior Edgar Leon had a 27-yard touchdown reception from Hamilton. That tied the game against University City 7-all in the first quarter, but University City went on to win 49-14. They got a pretty good team, actually, University City. So Jacob Sinninger, a 29-yard run in the game for West Hills. So for Vista right now, Dave, they lost to Ramona last week, 41-9 at home. You kind of talk about, Steel Canyon in there and that result. They did beat Fallbrook 29-20. Fallbrook's had some pretty good success for the kind of the level they're on right now. So that was a pretty okay win on the road at Fallbrook for Vista. Of course, Vista and Fallbrook. So I'll take West Hills as well, Dave, for the win here this week. All right, Dave, a great game. I remember a crazy game was last year between San Ysidro and Valhalla. I just remember we were out there. Raymond was out there shooting this game. I think there was I don't know what it was, a touchdown and then a fumble return right after, whatever the game was down in San Ysidro. I may have incorrectly said this week that Valhalla was on the road for 3 or 4 straight weeks, but I think they are at home here. I'll check it out maybe while you tell me about the Norsemen 1-1 going up against the Cougars 0-2.
Well, I'm just happy to see that Valhalla is putting up some scoring numbers now on the offense. It really has been quite a while since Orange Nation has been up at the top or super competitive. And I think that this is the year of the Norsemen where they're going to actually win some ball games. And some people are probably going to say I'm crazy, but I think that they're going to actually be one of those scary teams that when it comes to league, you never know which Norseman team you're going to get. But I want to say number 28? They got that running back. I don't have the roster in front of me, but I think that just the way Valhalla looks on tape now and what I've seen of their highlights, I think this is the Valhalla team that has emerged to where they're probably, I wouldn't be surprised if they win 2, maybe 3 of these games before they get into league play, or right when they get into league play, I should say. So it's a toss-up. I don't think they're the same Valhalla team, and I think that's what the scary thing is for others that don't take them too lightly. They have been beaten over the years, even swept by their league foes over the years. But I think it's they just got a lot more talent this year. I don't know if it was more coming just from the area or if they picked up some from nearby or any transfers. I'm not too sure on that. You usually are better with that information, but I'm going to definitely say I'm going to pick Valhalla over the 0-2 San Ysidro. Number 1, because they're at home. Number 2, because they scored a ton of points. More Valhalla points than I've seen in quite a while. And I think Orange Nation's going to be out there in full. And if I recall, last time I was on their field, they stand behind their Norsemen regardless. So it's going to be loud. And San Ysidro better come with some serious offense, and they better have some defense to stop that offense, or that it's going to be a long night. I am calling for, and I haven't said this in many years, but I'm going to say Valhalla. The Norsemen are going to row their boats, and they are going to win 28-17.
They were rowing the boat last week for sure against the Mariners. Dave, you mentioned I've got Valhalla in a blowout here. They scored 51 points last week. It was the most points they'd scored since 2016 when they scored 57 against Henry. So it was a big game for Marcus McHale. He had 102 yards rushing and 3 touchdowns. Preston Marcos returned the opening kickoff for a touchdown. They've got a good quarterback here in Jackson Newman. He had 85 yards and 2 touchdowns through the air. He also ran for 87 yards. Valhalla led 35-7 in the third quarter against Mar Vista. Also, freshman Paul Sacco, 32-yard touchdown reception from Newman early in the fourth, and it was Vinny Coyle with a 19-yard scoop and score touchdown for the Norseman defense. Zach Hagar kept getting to the quarterback multiple times. Brody Chartel, Ahmed Husseini also with 3 solo tackles for Husseini. Chartel had a tackle for loss. Anderson Turner gets our special team shout out here. 38-yard field goal. We're looking for some long ones, and Turner might be able to to get it to us. Dave, I don't know. I sent you a message. I was writing a story for this game, and it was so ironic. You said we were talking about Valhalla. And you said, I used to cover Pete Thomas, over 10 years ago, the Valhalla star quarterback between back in the late 2000s, who went on to play at Colorado State and North Carolina State and Louisiana Monroe. He's at University of Cincinnati right now. Ironically, in that game last week, the Mariners quarterback was Peter Thomas. But they went on to the 51-21 victory. I take them here this week. Dave, San Ysidro so far, they lost to Maranatha Christian. They lost to Claremont by a combined 10 points. Those teams are not great. So, they were close games here. I've got Valhalla in a blowout here. I think Valhalla can get a 3-touchdown win or more here on the lines of 35-14, 42-14, right in there. Maybe San Ysidro, like I said, some crazy things. Maybe they can get 21 here, but I've got Valhalla winning big in this one on Friday night.
Well, they got a new man in town. So I'm sure he's going to be slinging them all Friday night.
I think we might be moving close. We might be zeroing in on these on the Norsemen this week. I think Coach Cherry going to hook us up this week with a couple of players. Don't want to get ahead of ourselves. Valhalla better win this one. We are expected to win, and this is going to be a good win. Go out there, play hard, get these guys, because this should be Valhalla. They can do this one for sure. And let's be above 500. It's going to be awesome. All right, Dave, the Christian Patriots on the road against the Mission Bay Bucks. This one doesn't look too bad here on paper, maybe with Mission Bay at home, but I think Christian knows they're probably expected to win this one, Dave, against the Bucks this week. But we do have, we do want to see with Johnson if he's going to be in there. I would imagine the Patriots would be okay, but we do know that Johnson was injured in last week's game.
Yeah, they were, from what the players were telling me, not the coach, but from what the players were telling me, and the statistician were telling me, is that he should be able to be good to go this week. But he did get a little roughed up towards the end of the game. So Wilkins came in. Threw a couple of passes, completed a couple of passes. Unfortunately, threw a pick. But I mean, that's what you're going to get off the bench when you don't have as many snaps as Spencer's been having since the season started and last year. But I will say they looked really good. Especially the beginning of the game last week, scoring very quickly and marching down the field and going up 7-0 early, and then unfortunately he didn't get hurt till much later in the game, so that had nothing to do with the loss. But I say they hung in there, but unfortunately they just couldn't get that offense going like they started off. But they did have some good defense. If you look at the highlights too, they had quite a few stops, some great tackles. But I think they had a much tougher opponent than they have coming up this week. In Mission Bay, in the Mission Bay games I've seen, and I know they've been completely different teams, but I don't know the last time I saw the Patriots lose to a Mission Bay team. It might have been more recent than not, but the last time I watched them, Christian was well in control. I think they might have even pulled out the first string quarterback to save their first string. But I think there's going to need to be a little more rushing against this Mission Bay team. I don't know too much. You got something on them. I don't know how big their defense is, how their secondary is. And where their ranking is. Well, their computer ranking anyway. You like to do the computer.
Yeah, in fact, it was last year that Mission Bay did win, but I think it's a little bit different story. Not 2000, yeah. Last year was 31-29. The Bucks actually won, but I think the Bucks might be a little bit down right now. You mentioned the loss to Bishops on Friday. Johnson had 283 yards in the game before he left with the injury. You reported after talking to them, as you said, the injury isn't expected to keep the Patriots quarterback sidelined, I don't think, for very long. He was 11 of 17 for over 200 yards through the air, and he rushed 75 yards on 13 carries. Brady Eads had a rushing score. Jake Marsh 5 receptions for 90 yards. He's been terrific in both games so far, Dave. Sophomore Kai Rozier had his 61-yard TD reception. Defensively was junior Hank Houston, and Roman Gustin had 7 tackles. Hank had 8 tackles in that game, Dave. For the Bucks here coming in, they've rushed for only 117 yards in 2 games. They do have a decent quarterback here, Trey Arnold, 445 yards passing so far, and a top receiver, Kai Barrios, who has 15 receptions here, Dave. I've got the Patriots here to take care of this one. Maybe I'm going to go somewhere in the 28 to 14 range here. Hopefully it's not closer than that. I don't expect it to be closer. I just maybe with the Bucks at home, they, like I said, they did win last year on Christian's turf. So I don't know, that's something to consider. But it does feel like right now, let me see what these other 2 games were, I think, for the, I might have them here real quick. They lost to Holtville 46-7. Holtville can be, and they beat Kearney. Monte Vista, Christian has played Monte Vista recently, right? Remember a couple years ago?
Oh, yeah. That was a crazy game.
I'm just trying to, because Kearney's score was 34-6, Mission Bay over Kearney. Monte Vista just lost to Kearney in that wild game. So I'm going to take Christian here. I'm trying to draw some comparisons here to help me figure out the score, but I'm going to go right in about the 24-14 range, I think, for Christian.
I don't know if you remember, there's a couple other things I wanted to mention. That the quarterback for Bishops actually has a couple of schools and some other D1 schools that weren't named, but San Diego State has taken great interest in the Bishops quarterback, I was told. And also, if I know I mentioned it last week, the transfer from the Patriots to Granite and then back from Granite to the Patriots, Runkle, he has served 2 games. This will be his 3rd game. Game 5. I don't know that they're going to do this, but they say he's got an excellent arm. He's speedy. He's really smart player. So there's a very good chance that maybe, I don't know, but maybe he'll get a chance to go out there and give it a go. I mean, he's been sitting on the bench, and I don't know if maybe that's the secret weapon to pull out later, because you got to remember, Spencer is he's got a lot of speed. So I could very well see later down the road, possibly a Runkle or Wilkins or something like that, and somebody to complement Eads, and maybe have Spencer as a receiver. I think it's a good possibility, but from what I heard from the statistician, he was telling me that this Runkle that transferred from Granite Hills, you never know, he could turn up come game 6. So we will wait and see. It's just a couple of notes to keep under your hat. And again, then the kid from Bishops, can't take anything away from them. Obviously, they didn't lose to a horrendous team, as Bishops is always a good team anyway. But if D1 schools are calling them up, I think we didn't lose to a bad team. I just think it was one of those days that we played as hard as we could, and we need to clean a couple things up. And I think in this game here, I think since Mission Bay is down as well, even though they are heading that way, I think that we will get to talk to Christian on the bus again with a win.
Okay, let's go Patriots. It was Jadon Wilkins, who came into the game last week. Says the other quarterback.
I'm assuming that he's going to start.
Yeah, because this is game number 3 here right now. And of course, you're referring to Bishop's quarterback, Cash Herrera. Yeah, he's got a lot of schools. He kind of looks like an Ivy League kind of guy, too, though, here. So, all right, let's go next up, Dave. We're running out of games here, but we got to get, oh, boy, we got Vincent Memorial coming in to take on the Braves. The Braves are looking for their first points of the season, if I'm not mistaken. You with me, brother? I might be.
Yeah, I think you're frozen. Yeah, you're frozen. That's why I was.
In Robert Vasquez?
There you go.
Did you hear me, Dave? Was previewing the next game here with Vincent Memorial's coming into town to take on the Braves. We've seen Vincent Memorial play the Braves recently. It's a tough game, really, for the Braves, quite frankly. Even though this game is at home, I would expect this is going to be a pretty tough game here.
Yeah, I think really there's different players this year. El Cajon, so they got all the captains that realistically I think the captains are I could be wrong, but I believe that they're the ones kind of running the show as far as practices go, and the weight room and stuff like that. And I think that we have this new coach, and he's still getting to know his players, and it's a totally different scheme. A lot of the veterans were used to Coach Osborne, which I mean, I always have to give him credit that he turned the whole culture of El Cajon Valley around to go along with all the new buildings. He changed the culture and how people look at El Cajon Valley players and how they hold their head up. I mean, you got we've mentioned quite a few times what the letters mean, and not to be.
I'll ask you what they mean right here. That I don't know if I even know.
At any rate, that they need to be
accountability. Go ahead.
That they need to be responsible also, not just on the field, in the classroom, at home with their parents, pretty much in the community as well. They need to represent themselves as an El Cajon Valley Brave, and that they need to be held responsible for themselves and encourage others that are on the team if they see them, whether it be in a classroom or outside of school. That's something I really appreciated from Coach Osborne, that he instilled into that program for several years, and nothing to take away from Coach Simon. I just I would spend hours, sometimes maybe an hour and a half, talking to Coach Osborne, and not just about the game, just his plans and just how he thinks is very methodic. And I think the way he ran his football program was. So I think what really is different is just a whole new team, getting used to who they have, and the captains have a little more say as far as what the other players are going to be doing, how they're going to set up, how they're going to practice. I wouldn't say that they're calling any plays or anything like that, but making themselves responsible for the other players, which, I mean, that's a good thing to do, especially for the seniors. But I have seen Vincent Memorial play, and oh boy, I think they are going to have their hands full. I wish El Cajon Valley all the best, especially since I've watched a couple on the staff play, and boy, Joe Malone was so fun to watch as a quarterback, and I'm sure it's the same on the sidelines as a coach. But unfortunately, I think that they got their hands full with the Scots, and I'm going to have to say it is going to be somewhere in the area of 42-7, and that's going to be in favor of the Scots.
I'll go with you on that, Dave. I'll call it 35-7, just to maybe just get some stops on these guys right now. The Braves haven't scored yet. Want to shout out Junior Joseph Nealis leads the team with 2.5 sacks so far this season. Fabian Carmona, we talked to the Carmona brothers day at the beginning of the season. Fabian forced a fumble last week. Janvier Kashindi recovered it. Freshman brother Edwin Carmona, we talked to him as well, and junior Jakari Wash combined for 84 yards on the ground last week. Vincent Memorial, the same team we've come to expect. Yeah, they don't have the big star from last year, but remember this one, Dave, they did play Monte Vista in week 1, beat the Monarchs 21-0. Monarchs are obviously supposed to be a comparable team to the Braves right now, but the Braves have a little bit of work to do. I do think the Braves were not headed for a disaster here. Yeah, we're trying to improve on just right now an 0-2 start, but I think we will see improvement here in this game against a tough Vincent team coming in here. I will say, well, we will be able to keep it closer than we will last week. I don't mean that as a slap in the face. I'm serious about that. I think we will see steady improvement from the Braves. Just that right now, the distance right now between a Vincent Memorial and the Braves are going to be a little bit hard this week. Okay, Dave, it's Holtville week out in the desert.
Oh boy,
on the road here to take on the Vikings. The Vikings are already 2-0 on the season here. Mountain Empire, they did win that first game here so far this season, and we talked about their conference here a little bit, but still the rivalry game. And
the H word.
Yep, don't say it.
Yeah, I think that Mountain Empire's another. Unfortunately, Mountain Empire had at least 5 years of really starting to win and stay within. I mean, when it came down to the H word, it was always a tough one, and they beat them maybe once or twice. Once probably, but I want to say that they were doing really well. I remember Coach Van started from scratch, and he had a whole 4 years. They were all freshmen, and he groomed them, and he had really good success. And then he had another year or two with his son. I remember playing quarterback. I forget his first name. But Van was also the quarterback there. And then I don't know if Bernard resigned or what happened there, but I think that it's going to be an uphill battle now with with Mountain Empire. Now I think they need to rebuild, and that happens. But with that being said, Holtville, the H word, I think they're heading into dangerous territory, and Holtville's already proven early this year that they are going to probably win league again. So they got their work cut out for them. I am hoping that they get into the end zone. So I am going to say Holtville 43, Mountain Empire 7.
All right, so I guess you don't know it all. Anyway, yeah, Dave, it's going to be tough this week for the Red Hawks. Feels like coming to this one. They do have Isaac Gonzalez. He's definitely been, great in his career. Man, I mean, he'll be one of the best rushers in the history of the county if he just stays healthy and plays 4 years like this. He's got 136 yards so far this season, so we expect a little bit more, but it's been a little bit of a tough schedule here so far for Mountain Empire with the 1-1. We did, we mentioned the win early on against Hamilton of Anza, and they lost last week to the Southwest Raiders, 32-0. The one reason why that is important, Dave, is because Holtville. Let me see. I think they also played the Southwest. It was 64-0. So you can see what happened here, right? I mean, Holtville beat Southwest 64-0. And the other time, the other game was 30. What did I say? 32-0. So it's gonna be tough, Dave. I'm gonna end up taking Holtville here in this one. Also, same thing, 42-7, something right around there. Maybe Isaac Gonzalez gets in twice, 42-14 here. Holtville also beat Mission Bay 46-7. So, all right, Dave, that's going to do it for the show this week. Thank you, brother, for doing the previews with me, and thanks for getting the Monta Vista Monarchs after the win tonight over the Castle Park Trojans, 35-19. Great job, Dave, by the Trojans, by our Monarchs, Dave. I was sitting here. Remember, I was watching that Monarch game last week, and I was just so distraught. So I'm glad they came back big tonight.
Well, we got a handful of Monarchs, and there were some even in line that were wanting to come on. So always a pleasure to have them on. And then, like we said before, we have our correspondent over there at Monta Vista in Kasim, and he is a brilliant kid with and had a brilliant block to get one of those touchdowns early on. So that is the picks. That is the Monarchs.
Let me run one up before you kick us out here. I want to try to include something here, Dave. I'll let you get us out, but I want to try to include this here if I can. I want to report there was a tragedy in the Helix, just a scary thing in the Helix football family. I put up on our East County Sports. You see it here. Let me see if I can pop it up here on our East County Sports Twitter X page. There was an accident. One of the kids has been injured, so we're kind of running a GoFundMe. It's from the school, from some real family there at Helix. So you can please check it out on our eastcountysports.com feed. But also, Dave, I want to report these scores to you from girls flag football this week. Santana 26-0 over San Pasqual. Santana's having a pretty good start there to the season. Hilltop beat Granite Hills 19-0. El Camino over Ramona 33-12. Just following all the teams a little bit, try to figure out who's good. And I didn't hear, if I could, Torrey Pines at Steel Canyon from last week. It's one score that we were missing. Grossmont, we know how good they are. They thumped Madison 33-0, and Patrick Henry beat Point Loma, another kind of local. We only have 4 teams in the East County, but I'm going to call out the flag football scores this week. Go ahead, Dave.
All right. So we also want to thank our sponsors, Granite Mortgage and Lakeside Equipment. And thanks for hanging in there with us and hanging out with the Monarchs with their big win and our picks for the week. And looking forward to seeing you all tomorrow for the East County Sports Report post-game show. Join us then, hopefully by 9:30 Pacific. And for Ramon Scott.
Well, do that, Dave Dickens.
I'm Dave Dickens. And I'd like to say good night.